Good afternoon. My name is Eric Markland of Markland Designs, and today I'll be discussing working on two Lexus vehicles. I had a really good time working on the cars. It was something different. A lot of times, you'll have a stage one, stage two, stage three build, but generally they're always a different vehicle. So it was something different to actually have a stage one car, stage two car, that's the same car.
Hey, my name is Fuad Farouk from Atlanta, Georgia. Eric Markland worked on my previous Lexus, and right now we're going to go over my current Lexus that he worked on. When I first bought the car, the previous owner attempted at making a stereo system. He had a Soundstream head unit and a California profile amp attached to the factory sub to the point where it just sounded horrible. Like you turn the volume up too high, the bass would crackle and then completely shut off. And I can't have my car riding like that. So I wanted to go see Eric Markland, and he built a setup for me that created a perfect sound stage up front that I could hear the music crystal clear, but then the bass hit so powerfully in the back. And that was just something that I was just always wanting for a car, and for this build particularly, because this is my daily driver and I love just riding around and just listening to music, and he made that happen for me.
Goal in mind, and then talking with the owner, he kind of gave me creative power over the install. For the most part, had a couple things he wanted to add in here and there, but it made the process very smooth. The goal of the car was to be aesthetically pleasing and sound really good. We talked about trying to do something where it was like a Japanese version of an American muscle car. On the stage one vehicle, laser cut speaker adapters were made and then transferred over to 1/2-inch expanded PVC with stainless steel hardware, so the speakers could be removed as many times like a factory vehicle with no damage to the adapters. Stinger speaker wire, RCAs, and power wire were used. Here you can see the Stinger 6000 RCAs. On the subwoofer side, two 10-inch hybrid audio clarus subwoofers were used in a sealed enclosure. Even though the enclosure is going to be hidden behind a beauty panel, I like to fully finish them off. Here you can see the Alcantara suede front, along with the traditional sides and back were done in traditional speaker carpet. The lower section of the beauty panel was a 1/4-inch acrylic that was cut in a grill mesh type of style to allow the subwoofers to breathe into the actual trunk area. Here you can see some of the fans. I came up with a nice little design, used 1/4-inch acrylic as well to help pull the heat out of the amplifiers to help them keep them cool. Here's the grill mesh that is covering the fans, and also the lights for the fan hooked to a temperature switch, so that at a certain temperature, when the fans kick on, the light on the fans light up an amber color as well. Then the lower section of the piece that's in acrylic was then covered in grill cloth material to kind of give it an OEM appearance and OEM style. Here you can see the amp rack completed. It's also covered in Alcantara suede. Here you can see the amplifier shining through the bottom. And then we had the final piece with the amp rack underneath the carpeted piece and the beauty panel lit up in amber.
So when we went back to the trunk, he far exceeded my expectations. He created this false floor that just looked amazing, had this beautiful amber glowing light going around it that showcased everything. But the thing that he and I disagreed on, he used the OEM carpet to cover it back up because he likes the OEM look. I did not want that at all. And I told him, I was like, we gotta take off that wall, take off that faceplate, and take out that carpet because I want to showcase this work because it looks amazing. Underneath it, he has this beautiful amp rack that had this fan drawing out the heat so that the amps can work and work properly and function how they're supposed to. And it just looked utterly amazing. Even though you couldn't see it, he showed me pictures of it as he's going along through the build, and I was just awestruck by it because this is just way more than I expected. And I think that goes to attest for his abilities because he got an open canvas and put himself into it. This was all of his ideas and his design, which coincided with mine without us really even talking too much about it because he knew what I wanted and he knew the high expectations I had of him.
with the added expectation level, the Stage 2 car, I had to go a little further and beyond on that one as far as the details. So on this one, even the armrest had the factory piece removed because it was in very bad shape. So I laser engraved one out of suede and also made a plate for the cigarette lighter and the Apple CarPlay input for the USB. Moving on to the speakers up front, we use a hybrid audio set including an L1 V2 no housing tweeter in the factory location. Moving on to the sub enclosure, the Stage 2 vehicle utilizes a ported enclosure on this one versus a sealed. The enclosure was designed by myself and Brandon Otis at Good Vibrations Car Audio. Turned out absolutely awesome using a 8-inch port. Here you can see the suede engraved Markland Designs logo. And then here are the hybrid audio Unity shallows up front. And then the rears have a 5.25 mirus in the rears. Under the hood of the Stage 2 vehicle, we have a single turbo upgrade, along with Stinger 0 gauge wiring, wire ferrules, and a 200 amp Stinger circuit breaker that's mounted to an acrylic base, which is bolted to the vehicle using 1/4-20 bolts. Moving to the rear amplifier rack, we have two amplifiers, a hybrid audio Unity U1A monoblock amplifier, and then we also have a Helix P-6 DSP amplifier, which is a 6-channel amplifier with built-in DSP MK2 processor. Moving on to the glove box, here is the factory changer port, or changer location. An acrylic plate was made, and then a USB bong was attached to it, so that whenever the car gets tuned, they don't have to dig for the actual EMS system. They can just plug directly into the USB port, and they can tune the AEM engine management system directly from the glove box. So it helps out with serviceability and just kind of gives it an OEM appearance. And on this one, I used a Pack Audio single large volume fan to move a lot of the air out of the amp rack compared to the two smaller ones on the Stage 1 vehicle. And then here we have two Stinger distribution blocks that is on a piece of acrylic that is laser cut and labeled so that for easy serviceability, if anybody else had to come work on the vehicle, they would know that, hey, this is the power side, the ground side, is access to the fuses, and just makes it real easy. Here is the trunk panel insert. This one, like I said, is a little bit different than the Stage 1. Has a lot more chamfers, a lot more dimension. Has a little trickery with the logo here. Normally it looks silver, and at night you hit a switch or open the trunk and it turns to amber, so it kind of gives it this kind of halo, kind of floating kind of vibe that I like. Behind the actual press grills, like I said, we have the Stage 2 enclosure behind that. And here you can see kind of the dimension of going from a flat piece, dropping down, and then coming back up, and then dropping to a 60-degree chamfer, and then dropping down to a 45. So it kind of gives a nice little breakup, kind of, gives it some life. I don't really like too many flat panels, so that's kind of why the Stage 2 has a lot more, it's not quite as flat as the Stage 1. So hope you guys like it. Here's a little angled view so you can kind of get the press grills, the trunk panel, the inserts. It's about, I think, 4 or 5 layers deep. Like I said, I think it flows really nice. The client loved it. So, and for a little bit of fun, there's a race car mode. You hit the switch, it turns the factory exhausts into a full dump out right underneath the bottom of the car. Sounds amazing. Adds a little bit of horsepower. I'm pretty sure he's going to get that tuned in and utilize that to pull out some more horsepower up the car. So hope you enjoyed it. The car has a lot of power, so a lot of heat. You have large turbos on the car, generates a lot of heat. So I wanted to make sure everything under the car was protected. So acrylic mounts were made for everything under the car. The battery was upgraded, heat shield around the battery. Made sure to use very good OFC wire. So all the entire car, nothing but Stinger oxygen-free wire. Stinger 6000 RCAs and Stinger 8000 RCAs were used front to back on the cars. It's pretty straightforward as far as the wiring. All new wiring was into the doors. So the front doors and rear doors all had new runs of Stinger wires also. Some of the kind of cool elements that I enjoyed working on the car was actually utilizing the laser. So on the
All right, so future plans I have with the car, I want to build up more of the suspension. I want to get with some Serial 9 parts. I want to do a Serial 9 wide body on it. Paint it all one color, just a nice clean black over the whole thing. Keep it really simple, nothing too extravagant. The main thing I want to get into is the transmission. Not sure if I want to go with the fully built automatic or with a 6-speed CD009 from a 350Z. Either one of those are my main options. After that, upgrading the fuel, getting the power up higher. I'm looking for around 700, leave it at that. Other than that, it's just gonna stay pretty simple, a nice clean car, beautiful stereo system in it, beautiful wheels on it, just a clean, just everyday type of car that's not just gonna be sitting in the garage all the time.